As the Aurora drifted further from Zorethian space, Captain Alina Drake stood on the bridge, gazing out at the endless expanse of stars. The mission had been far more challenging than anyone could have predicted, but it had also been rewarding in ways she hadn't expected. Humanity had stepped onto a larger stage, proving not only its strength but also its heart. For years, Earth's leaders had wondered if they would ever find allies among the stars. Now they had taken the first step toward building a relationship with an alien species, one that could shape the future of both races. The crew was quieter now, each member reflecting on what they had experienced. Lieutenant Ryan Cole sat in the pilot's chair, his hands resting lightly on the controls. He thought about the young Zorethian navigator he'd befriended and how their shared love of exploration had bridged the gap between them. Samantha Sam Brooks tinkered with a piece of equipment in the corner, her mind replaying moments when human ingenuity had combined with Zorethian technology to create something entirely new. Even Danny Foster felt a sense of fulfillment, knowing that his care for the injured workers had sparked hope in those who had long been oppressed. In the mess hall, the crew gathered for one last meal together before continuing their journey. The atmosphere was lighter than it had been in weeks, filled with laughter and stories. "Remember when we snuck into that mining facility?" Ryan said, grinning. "I thought we were done for sure." Sam chuckled, shaking her head. "And yet here we are, still alive." "Barely," Danny added with a smile. "That alien you rescued practically saved us all when it distracted the guards." Drake listened to their banter, feeling a deep sense of pride. These were no longer just officers under her command. They were family. Together, they had faced unimaginable odds and emerged stronger. But as much as she wanted to savor the moment, she knew there was still work to be done. "This victory is important," she said, raising her voice slightly to get their attention. "But it's only the start. There are other species out there, some friendly, some not. We've shown that humanity can stand up for what's right, even when it's hard. That's something to be proud of." The crew nodded, understanding the weight of her words. They had learned valuable lessons during their encounter with the Zorethians: the importance of compassion, the power of unity, and the courage to challenge injustice. Those lessons would guide them as they ventured deeper into uncharted territory. Back on the Zorethian homeworld, Ambassador Kale addressed his people. Standing before a crowd of crystalline forms, he spoke of the changes ahead. "For too long, we have lived in fear of others, fear of change, fear of ourselves. But the humans have shown us another way. They have taught us that differences do not have to divide us. Instead, they can make us stronger." His words echoed across the galaxy, carried by ships and signals, reaching ears that had never heard such ideas before. Slowly but surely, the Zorethians began to rebuild, not just their society, but their values. Freed workers joined efforts to heal their communities, while scientists worked alongside former oppressors to create a better future. It wouldn't happen overnight, but the foundation had been laid. As the Aurora sailed onward, its crew prepared for whatever lay ahead. New worlds waited to be discovered, new challenges to overcome. Captain Drake smiled faintly as she looked at her team. Whatever came next, she knew they would face it together. Humanity had proven itself ready to take its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as partners. And though the universe was vast and full of unknowns, one thing was certain: the story of humanity was just beginning. Far beyond the borders of known space, the Aurora disappeared into the horizon, leaving behind a trail of hope and endless possibilities. With General Varnock stripped of his power and exiled, the Zorethian Council faced a turning point. Ambassador Kale stood at the forefront, advocating for change. He called for an end to the oppressive mining operations and promised freedom to the enslaved workers. The decision wasn't easy. Many Zorethians still clung to old ways, fearing that abandoning their methods would leave them vulnerable. But Cal's resolve was firm. "We cannot build a future on cruelty," he told the council. "If we wish to survive, we must adapt, and learn from those who are different. Captain Alina Drake watched these developments from afar, her crew monitoring communications between Zorethian ships. The humans had played a key role in exposing Varnak's crimes, but they knew their work wasn't done yet. Trust between the two species remained fragile, and the scars of conflict ran deep. Still, there was a glimmer of hope. For the first time, the Zorethians were willing to listen, not just to their own people, but to outsiders as well. On the Aurora, the crew gathered to discuss their next steps. The Zorethians are starting to make changes, Sam said, reviewing data from intercepted transmissions. They're shutting down some of the mining facilities and freeing workers, but it's going to take time for things to improve. Ryan nodded, leaning back in his chair. And what about us? Do we stay here and keep an eye on them, or do we move on? Drake thought carefully before answering. We've accomplished a lot, but our mission isn't over. If we leave now, the Zorethians might slip back into old habits once they think we're gone. We need to show them we're committed to peace, not domination. Danny added quietly, and we owe it to the workers. They trusted us. We can't just walk away. The team agreed to remain in the region temporarily, offering assistance where needed. Over the following days, they worked closely with Kale and other Zorethian leaders to dismantle the remaining mining operations. It wasn't always smooth. Some Zorethians resented human interference, but progress was undeniable. Freed workers began rebuilding their lives, forming communities and sharing stories of resilience. Many expressed gratitude toward the humans, seeing them not as invaders but as allies. One evening, Kale visited the Aurora personally to thank Captain Drake and her crew. His crystalline form shimmered faintly as he addressed them. Your actions have changed my people. For the better, he said. You showed us that strength is not measured by force, but by compassion. That lesson will stay with us for generations. Drake smiled faintly, though her tone remained cautious. Change takes time, Ambassador. Don't expect miracles overnight. But if your people are truly committed to this path, then maybe we can find a way to coexist. Maybe even help each other grow. Kale nodded solemnly. That is my hope as well. As the days passed, tensions eased further. Joint efforts between humans and Zorethians led to innovative solutions, such as finding alternative energy sources to replace the dangerous crystals. Sam worked alongside Zorethian engineers, exchanging ideas and learning from one another. Even Ryan found himself bonding with a young Zorethian navigator, sharing tips about flight patterns and star charts. Though challenges remained, the seeds of friendship had been planted. Both sides realized they had much to gain from cooperation and much to lose from hostility. As the Aurora prepared to depart, Captain Drake addressed her crew one last time. This isn't the end of our journey. It's just the beginning. There are countless worlds out there waiting to be explored, and countless opportunities to make a difference. Whatever comes next, I know we'll face it together. The ship sailed away from Zorethian space, leaving behind a legacy of courage and compassion. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, it felt full of promise. Humanity had proven itself capable of more than survival. It was ready to thrive. And as stars streaked past the windows of the Aurora, its crew looked forward to the adventures that awaited them. The retreat gave the crew of the Aurora time to regroup, but it also forced them to confront a harsh truth. They couldn't keep running forever. General Varnak's aggression was relentless, and his hatred for humans only grew stronger with each passing day. Captain Alina Drake knew they needed a plan, not just to survive, but to end this conflict before it spiraled out of control. In the briefing room, she gathered her team once again, her expression serious. "We've been reactive for too long," Drake said, pacing slowly as she spoke. "It's time we take the fight to Varnak, but not head-on. We hit him where it hurts most, his pride." Lieutenant Ryan Cole frowned, leaning forward in his chair. "You mean attack his ships directly?" he asked. "That's suicide." "No," Drake replied firmly. "We expose him." Show the Zorathians and the galaxy who he really is. Someone willing to enslave others and destroy innocent lives just to hold on to power. Samantha Sam Brooks nodded thoughtfully. If we can gather evidence of his crimes, we might be able to turn the council against him. Cale already doubts him. Maybe we can push them further. Danny Foster raised a hand hesitantly. But how do we get that kind of proof? Every move we make, they're watching us now. Drake smiled faintly. That's why we'll use what they don't expect. Stealth and deception. We go back to the mining moon. It's heavily guarded, but it's also full of records. If we can hack into their systems, we'll find something we can use. The plan was risky, but the crew had no other options. They prepared quickly, disguising themselves once more using stolen Zorathian tech. This time, they'd brought additional tools designed by Sam to bypass security systems. As the shuttle descended toward the moon under cover of darkness, tension filled the air. The team moved silently, avoiding patrols and slipping into the facility through a service entrance. Inside, Sam worked tirelessly at a terminal, her fingers flying over the keys. "I'm in," she whispered after several tense minutes. "Now let's see what secrets they're hiding." Data flooded the screen, revealing logs of worker deaths, resource shortages, and even orders signed by Vornak himself authorizing brutal punishments. "This is it," Sam said, downloading the files onto a secure drive. "This will bury him." Suddenly, alarms blared, shattering the silence. Guards rushed toward their location, weapons drawn. "We've been spotted," Ryan shouted, pulling out his sidearm. "Let's move." The team sprinted through the corridors, dodging blasts of energy as they fought their way back to the shuttle. Danny stayed close to Sam, shielding her as she clutched the precious data. Back on the Aurora, the crew transmitted the evidence to Ambassador Cale, along with a message urging him to present it to the council. "This isn't just about us anymore," Drake told him when they contacted him privately. "It's about your people choosing who they want to be. Will they stand by cruelty, or will they choose justice?" Cale hesitated but eventually agreed. He presented the evidence during an emergency session of the council, shocking everyone, including Varnak. The general tried to deny the accusations, but the proof was undeniable. One by one, members of the council turned against him, stripping him of his rank and sentencing him to exile. Though Varnak's fall was a victory, the crew of the Aurora knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. Trust between humans and Zorathians was still fragile, but for the first time, there was hope. A chance to build something better together. And as the Aurora sailed onward, its crew felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had faced the storm and emerged stronger, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The sabotage at the mining facility sent shockwaves through both fleets. General Varnak was furious, pacing back and forth on the bridge of his ship like a caged predator. The humans had not only humiliated him, but also exposed cracks in the Zorathian system. For years, he had enforced discipline among the workers with an iron grip, believing it was the only way to maintain order. Now, his methods were being questioned, not just by outsiders, but by some of his own people. Ambassador Cale stood before the Zorathian Council, his crystalline form flickering faintly as he addressed the gathered leaders. "What happened on that moon cannot be ignored," he said firmly. "The humans showed us something we have long refused to see. Our actions are causing suffering. If we continue down this path, we risk losing not only the trust of others, but also our own sense of morality." His words sparked murmurs among the council members, some nodding thoughtfully while others scowled in disapproval. Varnak stepped forward, his voice cutting through the room like a blade. "These humans are manipulators," he roared. "They come here, pretending to care, but all they want is to weaken us. If we let them get away with this, they will grow bolder and stronger. We must strike now, before it's too late." Cale turned to face him, his expression calm but resolute. "Striking without reason will make us no better than tyrants. Is that what you want our legacy to be? a race defined by fear and cruelty. The room fell silent as the two leaders locked gazes. It was clear that their disagreement went deeper than just strategy. It was about the future of their people. While the Zorethians debated, Captain Alina Drake and her crew prepared for the fallout. They knew Varnock wouldn't take the sabotage lightly, and sure enough, alarms blared across the Aurora as multiple Zorethian ships approached. "They're surrounding us," Lieutenant Ryan Cole reported, his voice tense. "Looks like Varnock's making his move." Drake clenched her fists but remained calm. "Raise shields and prepare for evasive maneuvers," she ordered. "But hold fire unless fired upon. We don't want to escalate this further." The crew scrambled to follow her commands, their movements sharp and precise. On the main screen, the enemy ships loomed closer, their weapons charging ominously. Just as it seemed a battle was inevitable, Kel's voice broke through the tension. His holographic image appeared on the bridge, surprising everyone. "Captain Drake," he began, his tone urgent. "You must retreat immediately. Varnock plans to attack your fleet, and I cannot stop him alone. But know this, his actions do not represent all of us. There are those among my people who believe in cooperation, not conflict." Drake hesitated, unsure whether to trust him. "Why should we believe you?" she asked, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. Kel's form shimmered slightly, as if struggling to convey sincerity. "Because I am risking everything to warn you. If Varnock succeeds, he will use this as proof that violence is the only solution. Please, leave while you still can." Though reluctant, Drake knew they couldn't win against such overwhelming odds. "Not yet. All hands, prepare to jump to hyperspace," she commanded. The engines roared to life as the Aurora sped away, narrowly avoiding the first volley of enemy fire. Behind them, Varnock's ships gave chase, but the human fleet slipped into the safety of faster-than-light travel just in time. As the adrenaline faded, the crew gathered in the briefing room to assess the situation. "Kel saved us," Sam said, breaking the silence. "He could have let Varnock destroy us, but he didn't. That has to mean something." Danny nodded. "Maybe there's hope after all. If even one Zorethian is willing to stand up for what's right, maybe more will follow." Drake sighed, leaning back in her chair. "We're not out of danger yet. Varnock won't stop until he gets what he wants. But Kel's warning gives us a chance to regroup and plan our next move." She looked around at her team, seeing determination in their eyes despite the exhaustion etched on their faces. They had proven they could fight back, but the real challenge lay ahead. Finding a way to turn enemies into allies, or at least neutralize the threat. For now, though, survival was their priority. And as the Aurora sailed through the vastness of space, its crew knew they were ready for whatever came next. Back on the Aurora, the crew gathered in the briefing room to discuss what had happened on the asteroid. The meeting with the Zorethians had been tense, but it also felt like a turning point. Captain Alina Drake stood at the head of the table, her expression thoughtful. "Kel seems willing to listen," she said, breaking the silence. "But Varnock is still a problem. He won't let this go easily." Lieutenant Ryan Cole nodded, his brow furrowed. "He's dangerous. If he decides to act, we're in trouble." Samantha Sam Brooks leaned forward, her hands clasped tightly together. "We need to prove ourselves, to show them that working with us is better than fighting us." "But how?" Danny Foster, who sat quietly in the corner, spoke up. "What about the workers? They're the key. If we can help them, maybe more Zorethians will see things differently." His words hung in the air, and for a moment, no one spoke. Drake considered the idea carefully. "It's risky," she admitted. "But Danny's right. Those workers are proof that change is needed. If we can free even a few of them, it might inspire others to push back against Varnock's cruelty." Sam raised an eyebrow. "And how exactly do you plan to pull that off?" "We're outnumbered and outgunned," Ryan interjected, his voice calm but firm. "We don't have to fight them directly. We can use stealth, hit where they least expect it. Remember that, Moon." The mining facility there is heavily guarded, but it's not impossible to sneak in. Sam shook her head, unconvinced. Even if we manage to get inside, what then? We can't take on an entire operation by ourselves. Captain Drake held up a hand to quiet them. We'll start small. Free a group of workers, sabotage part of the facility, and send a message. Not just to the Zorethians, but to those workers too. Let them know they're not alone. Her tone left no room for argument. The crew exchanged glances but nodded reluctantly. They knew the risks, but they also understood the stakes. Later that night, the team prepared for the mission. Armed with stolen Zorethian tech, they disguised themselves as guards, their suits mimicking the crystalline armor of their enemies. Sam worked tirelessly to ensure the devices functioned properly, while Ryan plotted a course to the moon. Danny packed medical supplies, knowing injuries were almost inevitable. As they boarded the shuttle, the rescued alien joined them, its frail body now stronger thanks to Danny's care. It insisted on coming, determined to help its fellow workers. When they landed on the moon, the facility loomed ahead, its towers glowing faintly in the darkness. The team moved cautiously, sticking to the shadows. Their disguises fooled the guards at first, allowing them to slip inside unnoticed. Once inside, they split up. Sam and Ryan headed for the control room, while Drake and Danny guided the alien toward the worker quarters. The alien proved invaluable, communicating silently with its kin and rallying them to escape. Dozens of workers followed quietly, their eyes wide with hope and fear. Meanwhile, Sam and Ryan reached the control room, where they began disabling key systems. Alarms blared suddenly, startling them both. "We've been spotted," Ryan shouted, his fingers flying over the console. "Get us out of here." Outside, Drake and Danny herded the workers toward the shuttle, firing warning shots to keep the guards at bay. Just as they reached the ship, Sam and Ryan burst through the doors, breathless but triumphant. "That should slow them down," Sam panted as she climbed aboard. The shuttle lifted off just as Zorethian reinforcements arrived, their weapons sparking harmlessly against its shields. Back on the Aurora, the crew watched as the freed workers huddled together, their faces filled with gratitude. For the first time, the humans felt like they were making a real difference. But they also knew this was only the beginning. Varnock would not forgive them for this act of defiance, and Kale, though sympathetic, was still torn between tradition and change. The battle for justice and survival was far from over. The meeting with the Zorethians was set to take place on a small neutral asteroid floating between their territories. Captain Alina Drake and her team prepared carefully, knowing this could be their best, and possibly last, chance to avoid conflict. Lieutenant Ryan Cole double-checked the shuttle systems, while Samantha Sam Brooks packed tools that might help them analyze any new information they gathered. Daniel Danny Foster stayed close to the rescued alien, who had begun to recover slightly under his care. Though still weak, the creature seemed eager to accompany them, its large, expressive eyes filled with determination. As the shuttle approached the asteroid, the crew noticed two Zorethian ships already waiting. One belonged to Ambassador Kale, its sleek design reflecting a sense of calm authority. The other was General Varnock's vessel, its jagged edges and dark armor radiating hostility. "Looks like we're walking into a storm," Ryan muttered as he guided the shuttle to land. Captain Drake nodded, but kept her focus sharp. "Stay professional," she reminded everyone. "We're here to talk, not fight." When they stepped onto the asteroid's surface, the contrast between the two Zorethian leaders was clear. Kale stood tall, his crystalline exoskeleton glowing softly in the dim light. Beside him, Varnock loomed like a shadow, his posture rigid and aggressive. A group of smaller aliens, the same kind they had rescued, stood nearby, their heads bowed as if afraid to look up. Danny felt a pang of anger at seeing them treated so poorly, but he forced himself to stay calm. "Humans," Kale began, his voice echoing in their minds rather than their ears. "You have shown compassion, but you also meddle in affairs that are not yours. His tone wasn't hostile, but it carried a warning. Captain Drake stepped forward, meeting his gaze. "We didn't come here to cause trouble," she said. "But when we see suffering, we can't ignore it. Those workers deserve freedom, or at least fair treatment." Varnock snorted, stepping closer. "Freedom? Fairness. These are meaningless words. They exist to serve us. That is their purpose." His words were sharp, cutting through the air like knives. Before Drake could respond, the rescued alien stepped forward, its frail body trembling but determined. It raised a thin arm, pointing directly at Varnock. A series of soft, melodic sounds came from its throat, unlike anything the humans had heard before. To everyone's surprise, Cale flinched visibly. "It speaks," he said, almost whispering. The alien continued, its voice growing stronger despite its weakness. Though the humans couldn't understand the words, Cale clearly could. His expression shifted from shock to something resembling guilt. When the alien finished, silence fell over the group. Finally, Cale turned to Varnock. "This one tells of cruelty far beyond what I was led to believe. Of punishments, of lives wasted for no reason. Is this true?" Varnock hesitated, his usual confidence wavering. "The mining operation requires discipline," he growled. "Without order, there is chaos." But his argument sounded weaker now, even to himself. Cale shook his head slowly. "Order does not justify suffering. Perhaps these humans are right. Perhaps there is another way." Captain Drake seized the moment. "We want to help," she said, addressing both Zorathians. "If you share your knowledge of the crystals, maybe together we can find alternatives. Technology evolves when minds work together." Cale considered her words, his glowing form flickering faintly. Varnock, however, bristled with rage. "This is madness." He spat. "They are outsiders. Why should we trust them?" Before tensions could escalate further, the rescue alien spoke again, softer this time. This time, even Varnock seemed affected, his armored shoulders sagging slightly. Whatever the creature had said struck a chord deep within him. Cale nodded slowly. "Very well," he declared. "We will discuss this further. But know this, humans. If you betray our trust, there will be consequences." As the meeting ended, the crew returned to the Aurora with mixed feelings. They had made progress, but the road ahead was uncertain. Still, one thing was clear. By standing up for the oppressed, they had planted a seed of hope. And sometimes, hope was all it took to spark change. Back aboard the Aurora, the team gathered in the medical bay to care for the injured alien they had rescued. The creature, frail and weak, lay on a makeshift bed while Danny worked tirelessly to stabilize it. Its translucent skin shimmered faintly under the lights, and its breathing was shallow but steady. "It's been through a lot," Danny said, his voice filled with concern. "Malnourished, dehydrated, and overworked. Whoever, or whatever, is running this operation doesn't care about these beings." Captain Alina Drake stood nearby, her arms crossed as she watched the scene unfold. She knew their decision to intervene had consequences, but she didn't regret it. "We couldn't just leave it there," she said firmly. "If we're going to make contact with other species, we need to show them that humans value life." Samantha Sam Brooks nodded in agreement, though her expression was troubled. "Still, we've stepped into something bigger than we thought. If the Zorathians find out what we did, they might see us as a threat." As if on cue, alarms blared across the ship. Lieutenant Ryan Cole rushed onto the bridge, his face pale. "Captain, we'd got company," he reported. On the main screen, several Zorathian ships appeared, surrounding the Aurora. Their crystalline hulls glinted menacingly in the light of the nearby star. "They're hailing us," Ryan added. Drake took a deep breath and straightened her posture. "Put them through," she ordered. Ambassador Cale's shimmering hologram appeared once again, his expression unreadable. "You have trespassed where you do not belong," he began, his tone cold but measured. "And now you interfere in matters that are not your concern. Explain yourselves." Drake hesitated for only a moment before responding. "We found one of your workers dying on that moon," she said, choosing her words carefully. "We couldn't stand by and do nothing. Whatever you're doing there, it's wrong. These beings deserve better." Kale's image flickered slightly, as if he were processing her words. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Kale replied, his voice softer this time. "The crystals mined on that moon are vital to our survival. Without them, our people would perish. Sometimes sacrifices must be made." The room fell silent. Drake exchanged glances with her crew, unsure how to respond. It was Sam who broke the tension. "There has to be another way," she said, stepping forward. "Surely your technology is advanced enough to find alternatives. You don't need to enslave others to survive." Kale tilted his head, considering her words. "Perhaps," he admitted, "but change does not come easily among my people. Many believe the current system is necessary." Before the conversation could continue, General Varnock's voice cut in sharply. His hologram replaced Kale's, his presence radiating hostility. "Enough talk," he snapped. "These humans act as if they know better than us. They are invaders, plain and simple. We should destroy them before they cause more trouble." The threat hung heavy in the air, and the crew braced themselves for the worst. But Kale reappeared, his expression firm. "No," he said, addressing both Varnock and the human crew. "Violence will solve nothing. Let us discuss this further on neutral ground." Varnock growled in frustration, but did not argue further. Drake exhaled slowly, relieved that the situation hadn't escalated into a fight. At least, not yet. Later, in the privacy of the briefing room, the crew debated their next move. "Kale seems willing to listen," Sam pointed out. "Maybe we can use this chance to push for change." Ryan shook his head. "And risk injuring Varnock. That guy looks ready to blow us out of the sky." Captain Drake listened silently, weighing their arguments. Finally, she spoke. "We came here to explore and build bridges, not start wars. If Kel wants to talk, we'll meet him. But we stay alert. Trust is in short supply right now." As preparations began for the meeting, the rescued alien opened its eyes weakly. It looked around at the humans, its gaze filled with gratitude. Though none of them could understand its language, its emotions were clear. In that moment, the crew realized they weren't just fighting for Earth. They were fighting for all those who couldn't fight for themselves. And that gave them strength to face whatever came next. The small team from the Aurora prepared for their mission to the mysterious moon. Captain Alina Drake had chosen Lieutenant Ryan Cole, Chief Engineer Samantha Sam Brooks, and Medic Daniel Danny Foster to accompany her. Each member brought something important to the mission. Ryan's skills in navigation, Sam's sharp eye for technology, and Danny's calmness under pressure. They wore sleek, dark suits designed to blend into the shadows, equipped with tools that would help them stay hidden. The plan was simple: land on the moon, find the source of the signal, and leave without being detected. As their shuttle descended toward the surface, the team felt a mix of excitement and unease. The moon was barren, its rocky terrain dotted with strange structures that glinted faintly in the dim light. "This place feels wrong," Danny said quietly as they stepped out. His voice carried a hint of nervousness, but he kept moving, scanning the area with his medical scanner just in case anyone got hurt. Sam led the way, her handheld device picking up faint traces of the signal. "It's coming from over there," she whispered, pointing toward a cluster of metallic towers. They moved cautiously, sticking close to the shadows cast by the towering structures. Every sound made them freeze. Every movement in the corner of their eyes caused them to turn sharply. It wasn't long before they found what they were looking for: a large machine buried deep within the rocks. Its surface pulsed with soft blue lights, and wires snaked across the ground like veins. "This is definitely not natural," Sam muttered, running her fingers over the smooth metal. "It looks like some kind of mining operation." Before they could investigate further, a loud noise echoed through the air. Footsteps. Heavy ones. The team ducked behind a nearby ridge, peering out to see who, or what, was approaching. To their surprise, it wasn't Zorathians. Instead, they saw smaller, frail-looking creatures dragging heavy crates filled with glowing crystals. Their skin was pale, almost translucent, and their movements were slow and labored. "Are those slaves?" Ryan asked, his voice barely audible. Captain Drake nodded grimly. "Looks like the Zorathians are using them to mine whatever these crystals are." The sight filled the team with anger and sadness. Danny clenched his fists, wanting to step in and help, but Captain Drake held him back. "We can't risk it," she said firmly. "If we act now, we'll blow our cover and probably get ourselves killed." But as they watched, one of the workers collapsed, dropping a crate that shattered on impact. The Zorathian guard appeared instantly, raising the weapon toward the fallen creature. Without thinking, Danny darted forward, shouting, "No!" The rest of the team froze, horrified. The Zorathian turned sharply, its crystalline armor flashing dangerously in the dim light. For a moment, everything seemed to stop. Then Captain Drake stepped forward, her hands raised to show she meant no harm. "Wait," she called out. Her voice was steady, despite the pounding in her chest. The Zorathian hesitated, clearly confused by the sudden appearance of humans. Behind her, Sam and Ryan joined in, forming a protective line between the aliens and Danny, who knelt beside the injured worker. Danny quickly examined the creature, pulling out a small medkit. "It's exhausted," he said softly, "and dehydrated. If we don't help, it won't last much longer." The Zorathian guard lowered its weapon slightly, watching silently. After a tense moment, it spoke, not with words, but through a series of shimmering images projected into their minds. "Leave this place," the message warned. "You do not belong here." Captain Drake met the alien's gaze, refusing to back down. "We're here because we care about life," she replied. "Even if you don't." She didn't know if the Zorathian understood her words, but something in its expression softened. It stepped aside, allowing Danny to finish treating the worker. As the team retreated, carrying the injured creature with them, they couldn't shake the feeling that they had crossed a line. By interfering, they had shown the Zorathians that humans weren't just myths. They were beings with compassion and courage. And that revelation might change everything. After the tense first encounter with the Zorathians, Captain Alina Drake and her crew gathered in the briefing room of the Aurora. The mood was heavy, but there was also a sense of excitement. For years, humanity had wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they had proof that other intelligent life existed, and it wasn't friendly. Lieutenant Ryan Cole stood near the holographic map of the region, pointing out their current position. "We're deep in what seems to be their territory," he said, his voice steady but cautious. "If we go any further without knowing more, we risk starting a war." Commander Lucas Hayes, who had been quiet until now, leaned forward. "We can't just turn back," he argued. "This is the first contact humanity has made with another advanced species. Think about what we could learn from them, if they'd let us." His words carried weight, but not everyone agreed. Chief Engineer Samantha Sam Brooks crossed her arms. "Learning is great, but staying alive is better. Their ships are faster, and their weapons look more advanced than ours. We're outnumbered and outgunned." Captain Drake listened carefully to both sides. She knew the risks of pushing forward, but she also understood the importance of the mission. Earth's leaders had sent them out here to explore and make alliances, not to start conflicts. Still, she couldn't ignore the energy readings they had detected earlier. Whatever the Zorathians were doing in this region of space, it was big, and it might affect Earth someday. "We'll proceed cautiously," she decided, "but we need to find out what they're hiding. Sam, I want you to analyze everything we've collected so far. Ryan, plot a course that keeps us at a safe distance while we gather more intel." As the meeting ended, the crew returned to their stations, each carrying out their tasks with renewed focus. On the bridge, Ryan adjusted the ship's trajectory, steering the Aurora along the edge of Zorathian space. Meanwhile, Sam worked tirelessly in the engineering bay, sifting through data. She noticed something peculiar, a faint but consistent signal emanating from a nearby moon. It didn't match any natural phenomenon she had seen before. This could be important, she muttered to herself, flagging the location for further investigation. Back on the Zorethian flagship, Ambassador Kale faced his own challenges. The Council, a group of powerful Zorethian leaders, demanded answers. They had always dismissed humans as myths, yet here they were, bold enough to enter their territory. Some members of the Council were furious, calling for an immediate attack. Others, like Kale, urged patience. "We don't know their intentions yet," he explained. "They claim to seek knowledge, not conflict. If we act rashly, we risk losing an opportunity to learn about them." Not everyone shared Kel's perspective. General Varnuk, a fierce and battle-hardened Zorethian commander, slammed his fist against the table. "They are invaders," he growled. "Their presence here is a threat to our people. We should destroy them before they become stronger." His words sparked murmurs of agreement among some council members, but Kale held his ground. "Attacking without cause would make us no better than savages," he countered. "Let us observe them first. If they pose a real danger, we can act then." While the Zorethians debated, Captain Drake and her crew continued their cautious approach. They stayed just outside the range of the Zorethian sensors, hoping to avoid another confrontation. But their curiosity got the better of them. When Sam confirmed the strange signal was coming from a moon orbiting a gas giant, Drake made the call to investigate. "We'll send a small team," she said. "Keep it low profile. If the Zorethians catch us snooping, we'll have a lot of explaining to do." The decision set the stage for what came next. Neither side fully trusted the other, and tensions simmered beneath the surface. For the humans, every move felt like a gamble. For the Zorethians, the appearance of these strangers forced them to confront questions they had long ignored. Were humans truly as dangerous as their legends suggested, or was there more to them than met the eye? As both fleets prepared for what lay ahead, one thing was certain: a fragile balance between them was about to be tested. In a faraway galaxy, there was a race of aliens called the Zorethians. These beings were unlike anything humans could imagine. Their bodies were covered in shiny, crystal-like armor that shimmered even in the dim light of their stars. They had no need for spoken words because they communicated through thoughts. For centuries, the Zorethians told stories to their young about creatures from a distant blue planet. These creatures were said to walk on two legs and call themselves humans. But to the Zorethians, these tales were nothing more than myths, bedtime stories meant to entertain or teach lessons. No one really believed humans existed. Far away from the Zorethian homeworld, a fleet of human ships was traveling through space. The leader of this fleet was Captain Elena Drake, a woman known for her calmness under pressure and her sharp mind. She commanded the Aurora, one of Earth's most advanced vessels. Her mission was simple: explore unknown regions of space and gather information. Alongside her were trusted members of her crew, like Lieutenant Ryan Cole, who handled navigation, and Chief Engineer Samantha Sam Brooks, who kept the ship running smoothly. As the fleet moved deeper into uncharted territory, strange readings began to appear on their instruments. Sam noticed unusual energy signals coming from a nearby star system. At first, she thought it might be a natural phenomenon, but the patterns were too organized to be random. It seemed like someone, or something, was out there. Captain Drake decided to investigate further, even though some members of her team felt uneasy about going so far without backup. Unbeknownst to the humans, they were being watched. The Zorethians had detected the fleet entering their territory. For years, they had patrolled this region of space, believing they were alone. Now, here were these strangers, boldly crossing borders as if they owned the galaxy. The Zorethian leaders were both curious and angry. Who were these intruders? And why had they come so close to Zorethian space? The tension grew as the human fleet unknowingly approached a Zorethian outpost. When the two sides finally met, it was not peaceful. Alarms blared across both fleets as weapons were readied. On the bridge of the Aurora, Captain Drake stood firm, her eyes scanning the screens showing the alien ships surrounding them. "Stay calm," she ordered her crew. "We don't know their intentions yet." The Zorathians sent a message using bright, glowing symbols that appeared in the air. To the humans, it looked like magic, but Sam quickly realized it was a form of advanced technology. The message demanded an explanation for the intrusion. Captain Drake stepped forward, speaking clearly into the communication device. "We mean no harm," she said. "We are explorers from Earth, seeking knowledge and friendship." The Zorathians were shocked. Could these beings truly be the mythical humans from their legends? Ambassador Kale, the leader of the Zorathian delegation, hesitated. He had always thought humans were just stories, but now he wasn't so sure. Still, he couldn't let his guard down. "You have entered our territory without permission," Kale replied sternly. "Leave immediately or face the consequences." Though the meeting ended without violence, both sides knew this was only the beginning. The humans had proven they were real, shattering centuries of disbelief among the Zorathians. But trust would take much longer to build. As the fleet retreated slightly to regroup, Captain Drake couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter was just the start of something much bigger. Little did she know how right she was.